Hey guys, this is Barkbala Soldier here, and this is part 3 on what if Deku had Lagiacrus ability. Cross a path once, you'll face pain. Suga was taking a 2 a.m. break on the rising sun when he was resting on top of the rock. Suga felt the sun helping his body recharge the electricity he lost, and Suga then feels all of the electricity coursing to his scales, and his orange horns, like spikes, glow with brimming orange. And Suga then wakes up on 6 a.m. and stretches his arm, and feeling the right amount of sunlight and energy from the coursing around his scales. And Suga then walks to Cyrus, and Cyrus says, "How's it going, Suga? Did your energy get replenished by the sun?" And Suga then nods to her, and Cyrus says, "That's great. I wasn't expecting you to run out of energy on that attack. What happened?" And Cyrus was curious on what happened when he was in the test exam, and Suga then used Chinese language to tell her about what happened. And Cyrus says, "Oh, well, that's unexpected. Usually you never go course on things that would not benefit you, but looks like you figured out that saving people could give you points." And Suga then used Chinese language to say that I didn't. And Cyrus says, "Yeah, the test tends to forget about what it truly means to be a hero. It doesn't mean you can be taking out villains left and right. You also need to help others." And Suga then sighs and says in Chinese language, "Got it." And Cyrus says, "Now hurry before Silky goes and does his cute face." And Suga gets pissed off on thinking about that, and gets dressed really quick and gets his stuff and runs and waves to Cyrus saying goodbye. And Cyrus says, "Have a nice day at school." And Cyrus says, he really is in a league on strength when it comes to water, and his power is very versatile depending on what area, but it's still impressive. And Cyrus then deals with Silky, and Suga gets to Class 1A in UA. Suga then looks at the doors, looking at what it looks like on Class 1A. And Suga sees Class 1A, and the door was about his size. Suga then opens the door and sees two boys arguing for he doesn't even know what they're arguing about, but he didn't care. So Suga just walks and just gets a chair and then sits down and sleeps, getting some of his energy back from that 0-pointer. When Suga was just taking a rest, ignoring the sounds from those two, he then hears someone says, "Huh, it's you." And Suga then opens his eye and sees the same girl that he saved while in training. And Suga then looks at her, and looking at a curious look at her. And the girl says, "Hi, you're really big. I didn't expect you to be somewhat tall as the door." And Suga then was curious on what she is doing, but he can't really use his sign language on her because, well, basically he doesn't even know if she could understand him with it. So he basically grabs a notebook and writes down and saying, "What do you want?" And Achaka says, "Oh, I'm just glad to see you in the school. You really helped me." And Suga then looks at her and then smirks a bit. and writes down, "It's no big deal." And Ochako says, "You saved my life. I mean, glad to have someone like you here." And Suki then smiles. He was gonna write down something, but when he does that, he gets 2 foot on his back. And the boy says, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't do that to a student." And Akaka then says, "Oh, sorry, I thought you were a chair." And Suki then heard that and cracked his pen. And Ochako says, "Are you okay?" And Suki then gets into a pissed off look that Ochako was a bit scared. And Suki then cracked his neck and then has one hand on Bakugo's foot. And Bakugo says, "Oh, what's up?" And Suki then lifts him up with one hand and tipping him over. And Bakugo says, "What's the matter with you, you shitty reptile?" And Suki then looks with so much anger and then puts a paper up. "You think I'm a chair, huh?" And this is him in the writing standpoint, not him using his voice. He still doesn't know how to talk. And Suki then writes down another one. "Well, now you're gonna face hell!" And Bakugo says, "Bring it on!" And we both were at a fighting stance, ready to give one hell of a battle. They then hear someone say, "Are you one of you gonna make a loud racket? Or is that your habit?" And Zuki then looks and sees a man in a sleeping bag, and all the students see that. And the man says, "Ugh, you really are bothering me. Well, everyone sit down." "No." And all the students sit down, and Zuki was in a very silent state, wanting to relax, but no thanks to Bakugo. And Zawa says, about 20 seconds. Not bad. Not great either." And Zawa explains that they're going to do some quick assessments, and they're going outside. And all the students changed into their UAPE uniform, and all were outside. And Zawa then says, "Alright, we'll do a throwing test." And gives the ball to Suki because he took first place on saving a lot of people. And Suki then stretches his arm and then looks at Bakugo and scoffs at him. And Bakugo says, "Whatever, you little cocky brat." And Suki then throws the ball in the air, and then using his tail and hitting it, batting it like a baseball all the way to make a home run. And it makes it to 10,000 meters. And Suki then smirks at him and pats his back, taunting him in a very insulting way. Like this jester is saying, "We'll see how you fare against the trial, pal." And Bakugo then says, "Oh, you are dead, you iguana." And Suki then heard that, growling at him, and both ready to killing each other. But Azawa stopped them. "Alright, you two, stop it," using his quirk. And all of the students were shocked to see Zawa stopping them with no hesitation. And then Suki then sighs and says in his Chinese language, "Fine." And Bakugo says, "We're not done." And Suki the same, with the same look as his. And then all the students were excited that it's going to be like a simple thing, but Azawa then upped the ante. "Oh, you think this is fun, huh? Let's make a bet. If one of you gets last place, then you'll be kicked out, suspended from UA. And all the students were shocked to hear that and tried to say, but we worked hard to get in here. Yeah. And Zala says, you worked hard as well. That is true. Think how much heroes worked hard to get and save others. They put their lives at risk and others in their hands. You'd think this is a game, huh? And then all the students take it serious and do some of their same tests as usual. And okay, let's put Suku's strength obviously first, because we all know how Lagiacrus is. Ugh, that nightmare strength of his is what leads him to be one of the fiercest leviathans in Monster Hunter. And speed, I mean, he's fairly decent in land. I mean, in the water, he's hell of a danger. But when it's land, many don't know this, but Lagiacrus only goes on land if he's tired. When he's in water, he's fully active and ready to gobble your ass up. And so I will say somewhere to 4th place. This is a disadvantage for Zuku, but it's still not bad. And agility. This one, I would say 6th. And okay, jumping. Well, out of water, maybe he could jump about a few feet. I mean, I would say somewhere to not as far, because I never seen him jump in game. So I would put him to about 50 meters in feet. And Suku has ranked about somewhere to 3rd place on the hero strength on quirks. And Suki then looks at Bakugo, smirking at his ass with a gruff exterior. Bakugo says, "You damn iguana!" And then the student has gone last is Mineta, but it was a false flag, so it was basically a lie. And Zala says, "Alright, Mineta, try getting better." And then Momo says, "Oh, you didn't know it was a lie?" And Suki and all the students were looking at her with, "You could have told us." And Momo says, "I didn't think I need to." And Suki then used his Siamese language to tell her, not telling them is not a good idea. You could have just told us in his Siamese language. And Momo says, so that's what you're trying to say to me. I will think on that. And Suki then looks at her with the most seriously face. And Momo says, "Give me a break. I'm trying." And all the students look at Zuko like the somewhat of a big brother in a weird look. Despite his rough exterior, he's somewhat of a big brother. And Suki went to Cyrus's home and was laughing his own way back from UA. And Cyrus says, "Oh, Suki, how was And she immediately sees the grin on his face. And Cyrus says, "Oh no, I've seen this face before. What did you do to them?" And Suki was confused on that statement, but he nods no. And Cyrus says, what happened?" And Suki just writes down and does some Siamese languages for her. And Cyrus says, "Oh, you mean you..." And Suki then says, "Yeah," nodding to her. And Cyrus says, "You got on well with your classmates?" And Suki then nervously then says in sign language, "Kinda?" And Cyrus says, "What do you mean, kinda?" And Zuko explains it, and Cyrus says, "At really say anything bad happened. And Suki says in sign language, "What do you mean that?" And staring at her with a serious face. And Cyrus says, "You know what your habit is. You know it." And Suki then rolls his eye. And Cyrus says, "Try not to overdo it." And Suki says in sign language, "Okay." And Suki then works on his electricity, working with a mix of his electric shock. He can use it now a little more efficient. He can create electricity from his body, then he can shoot out electricity by using his mouth and creating thunder shocks near like a lightning bolt condensity. Then he goes to UA the next day and sits down, and he then relaxes and waits on his charging on his electricity. Then he hears someone coming out of the door and says, "Don't worry, because I am here!" And all the students except him were excited to see All Might walking from the door. Suki was confused on who he is, but he is going with the flow with it, I guess. And All Might says, "Greetings, young heroes! It's time to go do some studies and do a little training. We are going to be using a bit of a test on heroes versus villains, and you're gonna use your support items." And all the students were happy to hear that. And Suki was confused on what is going on, but he does remember his support item. He goes to get his support item, and Suki then realizes doesn't remember drawing anything. But luckily for him, his friend Cyrus helped him out on what gear he needs. And Suki then gets to the support room and gets his item. And he sports a armor that is condensed with his electricity from his skin and bits of modifications on electricity from his deaded horns or spikes, and modified to deal with water and electricity proof, making him adaptable on both situations, and basically don't have any weakness to any electricity that could damage him, even if he didn't have resistance to it. And his look, he sports a somewhat similar to his Monster Hunter armor, but mixed in with a light but very effective swimming gear that is made for quick and coherent places in underwater or any type of situation. Similar to the, well, Navy SEALs. And Suki then comes out, and all the UA students come out. And then All Might then picks which teams are going to be teamed up and taking on heroes versus villains. And Zuko takes Ochako and is on the hero team. And Bakugo versus Ida are going to be the villain team. And Zuko then cracks his neck and is happy to hear that he's facing against Bakugo. And Ochako says, why do you have so much anger on him? And Suki then writes down something simple for her with a emoji mark with a anger and delightful face. And she reads, "Cross my path once, your face pain." And Ochako then feels the urge of wanting to be afraid of him and keeping a very good side on his footsteps. And Suki then is ready to give hell. And that's where I'm ending this video. I hope you like this video and hope you subscribe. See you next time. Plus Ultra.